Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Talking with a Dad podcast. This is episode 39. We kind of have some stuff to talk about tonight. Nothing crazy, nothing great. Not really much news going on in the world right now.
Hold on, whoa, that was the worst intro ever. Let's run it back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 39. We have amazing content for you, exclusive content you're not going to find anywhere else on the internet. No one else is going to be talking about the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, because it all sucks. It all sucks. If you ever want to skip an episode, this is the episode to skip, ladies and gentlemen. We completely understand. You're going to come back next week, re-energized, rejuvenated, looking for some Talking with a Dad podcast coming at you. All right, Stevie, what have we been playing, man? What have we been playing? I feel like
we've been grinding the division, man.
We've been playing games together again for the first time this year.
Yeah.
The Division 1, I know, it's a weird game to pick up and start playing again since it's years old and there's a sequel out. But I stand by the fact that I think the Division 1 is better than the Division 2.
Actually, I concur, and last night we got our asses handed to us. It was almost like playing Borderlands again. Zach went because Zach went full toxic on me, turned on me within the first 10 minutes. You are an interesting person in a stressful game situation, right? Because we have two different worldviews on video games. I play video games to have fun. Even when I'm losing, I am still having a good time. You, on the other hand, play video games and apparently to dominate every situation, and you did not come to enjoy the game. You came to win. And I come to win.
That is it. That is exactly it, for sure.
I can respect that. I am like that in other facets in life. Like, maybe we're playing like real sports and stuff, but we got dominated last night. But I want to start this by saying that was your idea. You said, let's play on Legendary. And I was having a great time. Let me, remember that video I showed you of me playing Shadow of Mordor where I stormed that castle when I was way under level? Most fun I had playing the game.
That was you progressed.
Oh yeah, I won handily.
Right. So here's the difference, right? So if something is hard and it's like, okay, we need 3 times to figure out this area, and then going forward, we need 3 more times to figure out this area, right? And there's checkpoints, and we can just continue moving on and progressing. And it wasn't that.
Sense.
It's
all making sense.
It wasn't that. What was happening is we would go in, get our asses kicked, and be like, all right, let's do it again.
Well, you know what? The first run was the best. Second was the
first
best
run and the last.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. It was,
but it wasn't anywhere near where like we weren't even hitting the halfway point of the map. We weren't hitting any drops. There was no progression going on. It wasn't getting any better. It was just staying
we weren't playing against other players. We were playing against the friggin' AI.
Against the challenging level AI, the hardest level AI you could play against, whatever it was. And you would just go, like, you had no chance. It's just the two of us. And we did not belong there. I can. And what's craziest to me is, like, normal, I could run through it solo with a pistol, right? No issues. Whatever the second difficulty is, I think it's heroic hard, whatever it is. Yeah. I went through literally the same mission and went and ran through it earlier in 8 minutes, start to finish, right? And then we bump it up to the third difficulty, which is the only other difficulty between way too easy, moderate, but quick, we could do this run a bunch of times, and it becomes fucking impossible. Right, like there was no in between. Like I would have liked a 4th stage of progression in there. Right, if we go to the third one, it's like, all right, this took us 25 minutes, but we finished it. That's different than taking 2 hours to do something and not getting past the first room.
So I was having so much fun, man. There was one point where we split up, and I went down. I'm like, I'm gonna go be proactive and take out these guys down in this little corridor down here. And I went down there, and they were all down there. Like they'd all like every yellow boss that was supposed to be was waiting for me. They're like, look, the idiot came down. The plan went perfectly. But the division is a lot of fun, man. It was really, really demoralizing fighting that guy in the dark zone. Right, because we had all kind of speculated that he was going to do something shady. Like, remember he came, he showed up, and he's just kind of like hanging around. And then we leave the building. We were out of there, man. We could have just kept going. And I heard Shane say, "Oh, he just went rogue." And then we all rushed back in to take him. And that 12-year-old was just like, "Yeah, finally."
We got close though. We got real close.
We got really close. This is actually it was a really good moment where all three of us were shooting him. And I was like, "It's happening. It's happening." And then I saw you go down. I was like, "This isn't going to happen." And then Shane went down. And I was like, "Oh." And you're like, "Steve, he's one hit. He's one hit." And I'm trying to hit him. And he's like, "Oh, he healed. You're dead."
Yeah, I mean, man. And this is just saying that, there's so many different ways to play the Division, right? There's so many different gear sets, so many different weapon combinations, and I love the Division. I really, really do. Right. But there's so many different combinations of the way that you could play a game that, we were not prepared for that. Clearly we were not prepared. There was a few things we could have done. We needed to get his shield down. We needed to, probably stagger him or hit him with a status effect at some point. There's a million ways we could have won that fight, but we chose the one that we couldn't, and we lost.
we chose the balls the wall strategy.
Yeah,
and it did not.
Other than that, the Dark Zone that night was fairly successful.
Yeah, no, that was a great run. I'm having a lot of fun playing the Division, man. It's I didn't think when I got the game for $9. I'm sorry. After the credit, I think I got it. Actually was like $3 or something like that.
$3.
I did not think I was gonna have this much fun, but I have not had a moment where I was like, "This was a bad decision."
We haven't even touched the DLC yet.
Yeah,
we haven't touched the Underground DLC. We haven't touched the survival stuff yet. We haven't even touched the DLC yet.
So much fun. You know what game I am still looking forward to playing? I don't know if you're gonna play it as well. I always forget the name of it. It's that one game that looks kind of like Borderlands mixed with the Division, where it's same gameplay, but they have powers like Borderlands-esque powers. I showed it to you, and then you were like, "Oh yeah, we should definitely play this on the channel." And then we stopped being a game playing channel. I forget the name of that one. I think it's
man.
I think it's Outworld or some madness. But I'm looking forward to that game, man. But more than games, you know what I am looking forward to? Friday coming to an end. And Saturday is upon us, ladies and gentlemen. We have something so amazing that only a cokehead from Boston can think it up, and luckily he runs the biggest MMA.
Outward? I'm sorry.
Is it Outward?
It looks like it's Outward, and it was released in March of last year.
No, it's Outlander. It's like Outlander or something crazy like that.
I gotta find it now.
Yeah, now you ruin my spiel. Yeah, ladies, UFC. Yeah, we're talking about the UFC tomorrow, and it's a big deal. Fight Island's a real place. It's beautiful, apparently. Hotels look great.
Yeah, it all looks really cool. There is an octagon on the beach that they're not using.
Yeah. A lot of people are upset about that, apparently.
Yeah, that's all. Like, what are you gonna do when there's sand in the octagon, guys?
They're gonna die out there. It's extremely hot. They need to be in somewhere with an air condition. It is extremely hot in Abu Dhabi. The water, someone got in and they realized it was like above 50 degrees, and like that wasn't refreshing at all. That's how hot it is. It's warmed the ocean. But everyone, except for one person, made weight. Everyone, thank God, is tested, as President Trump would say, positively negative in the best negative positive way possible, which is negative.
Right.
And it's happening, man. It's going down. So we got in the main event, got Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Gonna be an amazing fight. Got Volkanovski, the run back with Max Bless Holloway. I'm actually gonna go with my heart on my pick on that one, and to be the only pick I'm giving out before the IG, unless we get deep into it tonight. Even though we know UFC talk usually kills us, but I think Max is gonna take it back.
Nope,
this time. I think Max.
I think you're wrong.
My brain does not agree with me, but my heart says that Max Holloway came to win.
I think he came to win last time too, and I think Volkanovski is a fucking monster, man.
I think Max showed up to that fight and was not prepared for the not one trick pony, but the consistency of a very rudimentary game plan that Volkanovski was not going to abandon.
Okay,
and it's evident, right? Leg kicks work for a reason, even if they're not crippling the person, especially on a durable guy like Max Holloway. What do you want to do? You want to take his legs out from underneath him. You're not going to knock him out.
You're not going
to knock him out with punches. Right. You're just not. You're just not gonna. I mean, maybe someone could, but
I mean,
and
Poirier
then we got
didn't
the
put
fight.
him away that time. I don't know if anyone's going to.
Poirier, yeah, that was an amazing fight.
It was very.
And then
good.
we got Jose Aldo versus Peter Yan. So here's what I'm saying about that fight. We might watch a sanctioned murder that like in it. Aldo could very well sleep this dude. You can't sleep on Aldo. You can't sleep on a guy that good.
Aldo's the hardest looking 33 I've ever seen.
Man's been through some life. He's got a movie out in Brazil that came out, like what do you call it when it's a biopic, when it's not a documentary, when they actually get an actor to play it? It's biopic, right?
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, he's got one. I was gonna try to see if I can get that somewhere, but I can't. And then we got Jessica Andrade versus Rose Namajunas, the run back. And I think Rose will probably piece her up in this one, but we'll definitely check. We'll definitely see where that's going. But that's one heck of a main card right there, right?
Very good, dude. It's very, very good. And I'm glad you stopped at the main card at that fight, because the last fight on the main card, the opening fight on the main card, I don't think is a main card fight.
Oh, who's
I think that's a prelim fight.
Is it your girl?
It's Paige Van Zandt versus Amanda Ribas.
Has she responded to any of your letters yet, Zach, or did you just give up on that endeavor?
No response yet.
So what's the next step?
I'm going to Portland.
Is it dead dog and her soup pot if she doesn't start getting back to you? Sorry.
No. We're not going that far. There will be maybe mice released.
Amanda Ribas. Was she the one that didn't make weight?
No.
Okay.
I'll find it. You talk about the fight. I'll find who didn't make weight.
I will be completely transparent. If I have seen an Amanda Ribas fight, I don't remember it. So I don't know much about her. That's not to say that she obviously doesn't deserve to be in the UFC. But I don't know much about this fight here, the Paige Van Zandt. I don't know how to call it. I would have to go and do some research on it. My biggest knock on Paige Van Zandt has never been her heart or her ability to show up. At the end of the day, she is a fighter, right? She shows up to fight. She's never dialed it in, but she's been outclassed and beat by better fighters, which is what happens when you get to this level. We know that the marketing machine was behind her, which, by the way, is not her fault. For all you salty people out there that got mad that she was one of the first people to get a Reebok deal, that's not her fault, dude. It's not your fault if you're marketable. That just means someone sees that like this could benefit. Now we realize that the Reebok deal didn't benefit anyone except for John Jones. Like apparently he's the only person that thing worked out for, because his scale was like something I would be jealous of too. But that's a different John. I think Paige Van Zandt, in my opinion, if you look at it historically, what's happened with her career, she's jumped from gym to gym, right? Early on in her career.
Yeah, I don't think she's been all over the place, right?
By my count in my head, this is just what I know of, at least 4 gyms in her early MMA career. And obviously the longest stay was at Alpha Male for a while, which I thought was a good look for her because it gave her a home and she settled in. And we saw like the most success she's had in her career was at that gym, I believe. And now, she's married. She trains predominantly with her husband. And this will be the first time we're seeing her back after multiple breaks. Was it in her arm or her fist?
Her arm, her right arm, I believe. I believe she broke it. Did she break it after the Ostovich fight or before the Ostovich fight? And then
I think it was broken before, and I think it was broke
before
after.
She fought, broke it again, and then broke it 2 more times, and had to have 3 or 4 total surgeries on it. So we'll see how that goes for sure. Vanessa Mello is the fighter who has missed weight in every single one of her UFC bouts, and she's lost both of them.
Nice.
So she is probably no longer with the UFC after this evening, I would imagine.
Actually, you know what? This is the best time to do it because right now they need as many active fighters as they possibly can keep in the pool. So
I don't know, man.
But so here's the thing: Paige, she's 8-4. Her ground game is mostly position over submission. She does have submission skills, and I think she's
tied for the most arm bars as a female in the UFC, I believe.
Yeah, but if you look at the fighters that those were against, man, the one thing that's always worried me about her is her hands. Right, she has a tendency to leap in for her punches. and I mean lead with her face behind the punch. And I just feel like she probably needs some more time to clean that stuff up. But I don't know anything.
Here's the
Go
issue.
for it.
She's been a pro since 2012.
Yes.
Right. If you're a pro for 8 years, how much more time do you get to develop the fundamentals of striking? I don't think you get much more, do you?
Well, here's the thing,
years, dude.
You bring up a good point. Like she's been here. She said 2012.
Her first professional fight was Tournament of the Warriors. No, she didn't fight in Invicta until her third fight against Tisha Torres. I have her Wikipedia page pulled up. Technical first fight was probably some really, really small organization, and it's June 30th of 2012. It's 8 years.
So to answer your question, that's 12 fights in her fighting career, right?
And one amateur, yeah.
And one amateur. And to answer your question, yeah, it should have been dialed in by now. Also, you have to take the time off to really do that type of work, right? So if you're getting called into fights in the middle of it, you're never really gonna be able to showcase that. And you got to be at a camp where it's tailored to help you grow, right? To help you grow into that. It's either that or you just don't have a proficiency in striking, which can be true as well. Look at Damian Maia, right? Damian Maia, one of the best.
Such a specialist, right?
But it proves my point. The man can't strike. You know, at one point, let's just get off page for 1 second. He went to go train with Wanderlei Silva, which I think is a horrible idea.
Yeah,
that man drinks. That's just like, and he got pieced up. I agree with you, Zach. She should have had it dialed in by now, but I don't think that she's ever really committed to that. Like, I don't know how it's possible, but I'd say all this to say she's probably.
I think her husband's a good striker, though. I don't ever watch any of his fights. I think he's a fairly good striker. There's a lot of submissions in his wins, but a few knockouts as well, TKOs. So yeah, more stoppages than not, for sure.
Remember when Paige got choked out by Michelle Watterson? That was like a brutal choking.
Yeah. Here's the issue with Paige Van Zandt. Anytime she's ever fought a top 10 fighter, top 5 fighter, she loses. Yep. She lost to Tisha Torres. She lost to Rose Namajunas. She lost to Michelle Watterson. And she lost to Jessica Rose Clark. You know, she beat Felice Herrig, is probably the highest ranked current person that she fought, but it was a very, very early on. Back in 2015, you know, and her most recent win in January of 2019 was Rachel Ostovich, who was 4-5 in her career, I believe.
She fought Rachel Ostovich?
Yeah, that's the last fight she had. She beat her via armbar.
Wow.
And talking about losing to people who are no names, and we can get into Rachel Ostovich. I fucking hate her.
I know you do, but she's like one of the most successful Instagram models to be a fighter, isn't she?
Probably, but like it's not a very high bar. Yeah, she's 4-5. How are you in the UFC? Your professional career is losing. I don't understand. When you have less fights and you have a losing record, and you have less fights than Nick Diaz has losses. I can't take you seriously.
Oh man, I hope I'm in the position one day fiscally to fly in a plane with a robe like Jorge Masvidal and look like the Latino version of the Big Lebowski. That guy,
yeah, man, he took a private jet from wherever the fuck he was back to Vegas, and that's the most baller thing imaginable. You know how much you of all people, I think, might know the answers. Do you know how much a private jet costs?
So funny you should bring that up, Zach. I do, and I have a story. My first time I was ever going to fly on a private jet, I came this close, but the client would not get out of the hotel room so we can get on the jet. And at one point, I was going to be like, listen, dude, this isn't about you staying sober anymore. This is about me getting on a private jet and having that on the bucket list. You know what I'm saying? So
my camera froze here. All right.
All right, we're back after.
No, we're keeping all that. So 10 grand an hour, I believe, is what a private jet costs. It's 10 grand an hour. So
that's staffed or non-staffed, like because some you could just get with a pilot.
I think that's staffed.
Okay.
And that's not like the cheap way to take it. 10 grand an hour is absurd.
It's outrageous.
To fly, dude. That's obscene. So, you know, I don't know. I like Masvidal, but I don't think you should take a private jet unless the UFC paid for it. And we don't know.
They totally paid for that because it came in.
They would had to have, but you can't be the person like who is campaigning to get paid more, right? And was passed up for this fight originally because you wanted to get paid more, and then take a private jet into the fight. You know, I just don't think that's a good look.
Here's a crazy thing, right? Dana White didn't even take a private jet. He flew with the fighters. And by the way, the plane that they flew on, this was beyond first class. Did you happen to see that?
When you fly to Abu Dhabi, and you know this from experience, you could fly, what is it, Air Qatar, maybe?
I love that word.
Or Air, there's another one. But they're like legitimate like beds, and you get like your own fucking pod, and like people wait on you, and there's showers. Like, dude, that's the way to live, dude. Like, I want to be that rich.
The only thing I can compare it to is a couple of times I took first class Amtrak because it was getting expensed by a client, and they wanted to go that way. And look, I didn't know what a treat I was in for. I was like, it's a train. How first class could, man?
No, it gets pretty legit.
It was pretty amazing. I showed up and I was like, whoa, this is the dinner for tonight? Like, there's steak. You have that on the train. It's not rat. And they're like, no.
It's not. growing up in the city, used to, when someone says train, you're used to the subway.
Yes.
Right? Like, I've not taken an Amtrak.
It's amazing.
I don't know why anyone would, to be fair. It takes way longer than a flight, and it's not as cool.
So if you're going from New York to Boston, it is the most comfortable ride. The only thing that would suck for the area we live in, which I've done, you have to drive down to either Connecticut, New Haven line, or to New Rochelle, and you can catch the Amtrak there on the Metro North. But the reason most people take it is because either they're scared of planes, but also the convenience. So instead of having to go to Logan or any of that, like that madness, where it drops you off in Boston, like downtown Boston, right by the water, boom, get right out the car. Same thing with Philly. As soon as you get out, you get to the stop.
Okay.
Boom, taxi right next to the hotel, and it's the convenience of it.
My thought is we're close enough to Boston, and I'm sure you've been to drive, that it's 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
You know, it's 4 hours to Boston. It's not like I would ever go, oh man, I can't drive there. It's too long. No. I could drive there and back like right now and be fine.
Yeah.
Like Boston's an amazing place, and it's always really, really fun to go there. I just don't understand I'm gonna fly there or I'm gonna take a fucking train there, dude. We're so close that it's like drive. It's just fucking.
Dude, I felt the same way when I lived in LA about Vegas. When people were like, we're flying there.
Yes. Like, oh my God. Yes. It's a few hours, right?
It's like 3 hours, man. And half the fun is driving to Vegas. There's a point when you're out in the desert and you're like, man, I could die out here and no one would ever know.
Yeah. I know of that road. We didn't drive it when we're out in California, but I know of the road to Vegas that is it's just fucking straight. There are no cops, and
exactly.
It's just as long as you want to go, and you just pop into Vegas eventually. Yeah.
There's one point before you get to the last way station, and then there's this kind of fake Vegas that's for truckers, where before you get to Vegas, I think it's called Last Route or something like Last Stop, and I've never gone in there because it just looks like something like a place where bad things happen.
Shady, and I like it. I'm going
but when you see it on the horizon, it's like, oh. Thank God, I'm almost there. It's that type of situation. But somehow we got on that. Here's the deal. Fight Island's happening. I'm tuning in. We'll probably get our fight picks up tomorrow because I've found that there's more interaction from you folks when we get them up that day. If I get them up too early, no one cares.
No one cares.
No one cares. So like, you guys turned on us on UFC anyway, so we're gonna jump.
Hold on, no. This is important to note that the Paige is on her last fight of her contract. She's coming off of a win. She's in the last two fights. She's 1-1. It's been a while since she's fought, so we're gonna see how she is. Dominic Cruz is very adamant that there is no such thing as ring rust, but for a person who has only been fighting for 8 years and still hasn't quite figured out her striking, I wonder if ring rust is going to be a issue for her after having not fought for the better part of 18 months.
And then contractually, this is a weird place for her to be in, but I'm sure she's okay with it. But so you win, get a better negotiating chip. You lose, you get a horrible negotiating chip. She even
wants to stay with the UFC at this point, right? I think
that's
her husband's in Bellator. I think they treat him really well over there. He's not a champion. He's in line to be one for sure. Why not go over there? And for her, it's easier fights. It's more chance of being a top contender and
better pay.
Better pay, most likely. You could get your own sponsors, I believe, still in Bellator. It's also important to note that Reebok is out of the UFC as their apparel brand, and Venom is in. I saw that earlier in between naps, and I'm like, fuck, I don't give a shit. And I texted you, and then I went back to sleep.
So Venom, we're talking about Venom that makes all the kickboxing apparel, right? And
I
the
believe
gis
so. Yeah. How do they afford the contract?
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
I definitely think, and I wish we had one of these know-it-all listeners that would just chime into our comments. I think that was more position and timing for Venom, where Dana's like, well, we got to get someone on the uniform, right? Because Dana does not want to go back to the days of multiple tags, NASCAR looking on the uniform. And you and I were talking about this one day.
I don't mind.
I would be okay with the banner for sure. I do like the uniform. I think it makes it look more legit. But I do concede to the point that it's the best way for fighters to make money if their contract's not up to snuff. But yeah, I mean, Venom's a staple around there. So, but it's just like, I don't even. What's the net worth on that company? Like,
I don't know.
What? Like, I mean, someone tried to sell me Venom gear at the school, and I was like, I'm okay, man. That's for posers. Not that people who use Venom are posers, but you having it makes me know that you're a poser. I know you're not hitting the mat.
The contract starts in 2021.
And what's the company's healthy? What are they looking like there?
I can't really find a source here really that quick. It started in 2006. In France.
Your computer's gonna freeze up right now because no one has ever really Googled Venom beyond this day.
Yeah, I Google them and Walmart shows up.
Yeah, exactly. One of they are sold at Walmart. You can get a Venom shirt for your kid, definitely, as you're walking out the store.
Yeah.
That's one thing you're
gonna pay for it first.
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely. I'm not advocating.
Yeah. They have really gaudy gear. Yeah. I don't like it.
The signs are crazy.
I can't find a market value for Venom.
So here's a crazy thing. You would have thought it would have been Monster, right? That would have been my next thought.
Monster?
Like Monster to step in for the branding for the company, like because they've been working
the energy drink company.
Yes,
but no, they need someone to manufacture the uniforms and then sell the fight kits. This isn't like a sponsor they put on their shorts. These are people who legitimately manufacture the clothing that the fighters wear. Do you not remember when Reebok came in and the women fighters were wearing 2 or 3 sports bras because they couldn't fucking figure them out and shorts were awful looking.
Were you watching fights back then when they had the actual expo for the Reebok at MSG? They Rory McDonald and a few other fighters like modeling the clothes.
I remember it like in the news, but I don't remember it. No, I maybe I was. Maybe this was like right at the beginning of when I was watching because I remember going, I wonder what the contracts are going to look like now because these guys were getting all these sponsors. And specifically, I remember hearing a podcast with Joe Lozon in it, with him going, he goes, this is nice for me because I do all of my own sponsorships, but he goes, I'm also making less money now. So, yeah, it's very interesting. I would have rather them gone back to their own shorts, I think. But
I think so. This is where you and I split on the conversation for marketability and like into the mainstream. This has definitely boosted it. But the Reebok deal itself was a horrible deal for the fighters. There's no way to defend it, right? It was a bad look for lower tier. And when I say lower tier, I don't mean in caliber. I just mean in being recognizable fighters. It was a horrible deal. Same thing with Undisputed, the game when it first came out. It's like it was a horrible deal for lower tier fighters. I do think that uniformity, it made it look more professional. It definitely, and it happened at the same time they were heading into the Fox deal. Just hear me out on this, man. Just hear me out. They were trying. This is pre MMA being legalized in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not quite in the dark days, but we're just moving away from the tough spike days. These were very strange times for MMA when UFC was on, unless you were a real fan. And so they were heading into a place where they wanted to be considered a real sport, right? That was the whole push behind them being on Fox, and then eventually making their way to ESPN.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that that's the only positive that came out of that, is that the Reebok uniform itself lent to that marketing, that, hey, we are a real sport.
Yeah,
we can be taken seriously.
I see where you're coming from, for sure.
Yeah. Now you could definitely make the argument boxing has some of the worst things you're ever going to see in any given night. You ever want to tune in and see some of the weirdest stuff that any person's going to wear?
Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
He wears he wears a shag rug as his shorts, and I don't quite understand that.
So horrible. And then don't even get me started on kickboxing. But I have to concede to the points that Zach made in our private conversation. It's a horrible deal for the fighters, man.
It always
People are getting ripped off. They're not able to make ends meet. And you also got to remember, they pay for their own training camps, right?
Yep.
They pay for gym time, not to mention out of gym time. So if they're bringing in people who are holding mitts for them and they need a professional, they pay for their own gym memberships to go get that road work in and specialists and that stuff. It's very expensive to be a fighter. It's very expensive. It's
none of them make any money unless you're the top 5%, top 2%, or whatever it is.
It's true, man. And it's and this is why it's this interesting thing to see Paige Van Zandt in this position, because it's like, yeah, if you comparatively look at Bellator, it's easy to make the joke, oh, they're the Mixer of MMA, but they've managed to hold on a lot longer than Mixer, right?
yeah, Mixer was around for like 19 months. The Bellator's been around for 10 years.
They've been fighting it out, man. They're still here. They're still not really in the fight anymore, if we're being honest, right? You have to be a real mixed martial arts fan to even consider watching Bellator. There are no casual fans that watch that. There may be some just bleed fans, for sure.
Yeah.
But fighters can go over there and they can earn a living at the twilight of their career, for sure.
Well, even in like the prime of their career, honestly, I think that Bellator is probably the more lucrative place to be in fighting at the moment. Definitely compared to the UFC. The UFC is awful. They don't pay their fighters at all.
Listen, ironically, it's the most lucrative place for fighters to be, but that will be the reason that it goes under in a sport that
you're right. You're absolutely right.
I'm not advocating any fighters not getting paid. Don't fight me at Target when you see me. I'm just saying that
they can't afford to be at Target, Steve. You're okay.
That's a good point. I'm like, stop that man getting in here. He has no money. Here's the thing I'm saying though, man. It's Fight Island. It's happening. Me and Zach have been following this story. We broke it first. From the moment it was a rumor, we've been on top of this thing.
I knew what island it was right from the rip, too. I think I might even said it on the show.
You called it, man. You absolutely did. And now it's going to happen. We're still in the midst of a pandemic. And, normally we'd be watching a fight at my house and but, this is the reality. So thank you once again,
here.
UFC, for bringing us sports that we can rely on. I'm not a NASCAR guy. And who knows if the MLB and the NHL and any of this stuff is actually going to happen. It looks like it's going to happen. It's trending to happen.
F1 is back. F1 had a race last week.
Oh, how'd that go?
There was a race. It's very early in the morning here because it's other parts of the world. So
WWE is still jumping off.
Are they? Yeah. Do people watch that?
Apparently, it's a little bit weird. The theatrics don't really translate that well without the crowd there. Surprise, surprise.
Are people realizing what's happening? They're like, wait a second. That guy just slapped that guy across the chest and he fell over. That's what's happening, man. I do not understand the WWE, man. Listen, you can be a fan of whatever you want, and I'll support you as long as you're having a good time, right? But fucking A, WWE, man, really? Like, go watch something else, bro. Like, go watch something else.
That's a perfect setup for a guest that we're going to be having on here pretty soon, because I'm going to pressure him on that. I'm going to get him on the record, and I'm going to be like, look, you're going to explain this to me right now. But all right, I know I picked the next topic. I know before you even say anything, but I need you to explain it to me. Right? I'm 39. I'm well outside understanding this thing, but I'm starting to understand a little bit more. Who is NEEKO? And why was she signed to 100 Thieves? And explain the branding. I'm going to shut up. But those are your 3 things you have to do.
Okay. Who is NEEKO? NEEKO is a content creator in the just chatting / video gaming Twitch industry. Recently blew up because of the OK Boomer meme, which is funny. Steve was singing it the other day. I have him on record doing that. I recorded it while he's doing it, and I'll splice that clip in. Okay, we're back. There definitely was no clip. I don't have one. I'm sorry. I just trolled everybody. She signed to 100 Thieves, right? So she signed to 100 Thieves as a content creator. She's on the same level as Valkyrie and Courage. So she's signed there as a content creator under the 100 Thieves branding, and that's what it is.
So, all right. So, explain to me a little bit more, because the mission statement for 100 Thieves is it's broken up into a few different groups, I would believe, right? So they do have an esports team, right? They have a Fortnite.
Yeah. So they have an esports. So what 100 Thieves started as an apparel brand for Nadeshot. Nadeshot famously helped Optic when Optic was under Hex grow into this giant thing. Split off when he couldn't, I think, own a part of it. I think Hex refused to sell Nadeshot a part of Optic. Split off into his own company, 100 Thieves. It was originally an apparel company, and then it kind of blew up. So he signed some content creators. They signed esports teams, and here we are. It's a fairly large brand. They have endorsements from Drake, and such. So yeah, 100 Thieves is a fairly large brand.
And another thing you were educating me on, I just want to make sure I have it correct. Nadeshot, kind of a savant when it comes to business dealings, got into bed with the right type of partner and has made some good managerial decisions in regards to the COD League and stuff like that. So go over that one more time.
They didn't join the COD League.
Okay.
He said that, he has the responsibility of all of his employees to join or not to join, certain things, right? He comes from a background of competitive Call of Duty. Competitive Call of Duty, I believe to this day, is still one of his passions. And he didn't have the capital, the 25 million, I think it was. He said that he had it, but it wouldn't have been responsible of him to have used that money on one of his passion projects. And at the moment, he made the correct decision. The COD League is kind of flopping. All of the pros hate it. All of the pros hate the game. It's really more the game's fault than the COD League's fault, I believe. So I think he made the right decision on that. Yeah, I think he's made a few very good decisions. They do limited releases on their clothes. Their clothes are very nice. I don't know if you've ever seen them or not.
They're not my style, but they're cool.
They're very, very nice, I think. So yeah, their League of Legends team just beat FlyQuest like a few minutes ago. So in the League of Legends LCS summer split. So yeah, they're a fairly strong esports organization.
So what does this mean for a career? All right, so tell me about NEEKO's career. So I know who she is in regards to the OK Boomer thing, and then she gained a lot of followers really quickly, and then she got. This is kind of weird because I'm not a simp, and in fact, I'll smack you in the face if you say it and I catch you. But here's the thing, right? So a lot of guys jumped on her bandwagon and jumped off when they surprise, she's got a boyfriend and you're never gonna have a chance with her, right? And then they just left her quickly. But she didn't give up, right? I noticed she still, streams on Twitch. We were watching her one night and she was putting something together, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. This doesn't make any sense. She's been doing this for 2 hours. But what is this? Why her? What do you think it's about? Am I missing something? Help me out here, buddy. Come save me, man. What's going on? Why did they pick her?
They signed people who are fairly large, right?
Okay.
They have Noah J. They have Valkyrie, Courage. They have all of the mob, right? Avalanche, Classify, Frost, and NEEKO. They have Yasuo, who is a League of Legends content creator, is the smallest one in the entire thing here. Brooke, and then they just signed NEEKO. They're fairly large. They have a lot of like legit sponsorships. With Cash App and NZXT and Secret Lab and Elgato and Chipotle and JBL, and at one point Red Bull, I believe, was one of their sponsors. It's usually fairly large. Actually, Nadeshot's one of the first esports people ever to be sponsored by Red Bull back in the day. So, but they have a huge content team, and there's a lot going on there, but she's fairly popular and fits well within the 100 Thieves brand, so why not sign her?
Good point. What games does she play? Is she famous?
I have no idea. You ask me these questions as if I'm like a fan, right? And I'm like, shit, NEEKO straight, I gotta go, right? Like, I've popped in every once in a while.
You're an encyclopedia, a wellspring of information. That's what you did. It's out of respect.
Every once in a while, I pop in there. I've seen her play League of Legends.
Okay.
And that's kind of the main game I think I've seen her play. Obviously, I have my history with League, so I can't actually watch it, and I leave. It's like a heroin addict. So,
is she any good?
I don't know. League, gotta go. That's literally what happens.
See, that's the purpose. This is how you know. Like, I'm not a boomer, right? But this is how you know I come from a competitive premise outside of this stuff. Because my question is, well, are they good at this thing? I guess I do take a very dad approach. Like, are you?
She's
good
better
at
than you. Right.
I can't play League at all. That doesn't
right. That's
anything.
what I'm saying. Right. There's levels.
I could break her arm with an arm bar though if she wants to go. I'm ready.
I'm have to catch her first.
That's a good point.
Looks like she could run.
Well, I mean, that's just good. So if I understand it correctly, like their marketing and branding for 100 Thieves, though, I honestly pop into their podcast sometimes. I just go check out the channel. And I like to read their abouts and do all that type of stuff. And the marketing branding, that's a great move for someone like her, I think.
Absolutely.
And I think trajectory wise, and the fact that they do skits on their channel, this is something that goes underappreciated, but they still utilize the main purpose of YouTube, which is to create content that people can watch over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like their skits. It's not my type of thing. I'm still watching ridiculousness. So it tells you where I'm stuck at in my life at this point. But
I should rewatch ridiculousness. That's a good point. That is an absolute good point.
But I like it, man. I also like that I'm still trying to figure out the business part of 100 Thieves in regards to the content creation. It doesn't snap in my head. I don't understand how they make money off of it, but I don't need to understand long as it's
so you are a smart guy, Steve, and I think you try to overcomplicate things when it comes to certain stuff, right? You know how sponsorships work, right?
Yeah, I know how sponsorship.
When Brendan Schaub is sponsored by Black Rifle Coffee, and he talks about it on his. This is a legitimate sponsor, I think. And he talks about
great coffee too.
I agree. And he talks about it on his podcast. He's getting paid for that plug.
No, right? Not the sponsorship. I don't understand how they make money. 100 Thieves, how they make money off their content creators. Like, so I sign you to my organization.
Right. So this is another person who is going to be advertising 100 Thieves Red Bull. This is another person who's going to be advertising 100 Thieves NZXT PC brand, right? This is another person who's gonna be like, hey, there's a 100 Thieves content drop coming, buy it, right? And when people have an audience that has purchasing power, which we'll have one day, I promise, that brings money in, and that's how they make their money. It's the same exact way as when a podcast has a sponsorship, or there's a product placement in a TV show. It's the same money. They're getting paid for all of the product placements and all the content that the products and stuff that they're talking about. That's how they make their money.
Now, see, that was a tutorial level for dummies type of answer, because you see this wall behind me? It said 100 Thieves earlier, and I spelled NEEKO's name wrong, and I just had dollar signs. I just had lines drawn back and forth, trying to figure out where the money was coming from.
It's Always Sunny, when Charlie's trying to figure out where all the mail goes. And he has all these fucking strings all over the place. It's amazing.
Have you ever seen the movie Beautiful Mind?
No.
Oh, man. That's where they got that scene from Always Sunny. And it's like, seeing that meme every once in a while reminds me of that this is based on a real guy. And I'm like,
I love Always Sunny, man. I love it.
One day when is it over? Did it conclude yet? Or?
No, it's still going. It's
like The Simpsons, man.
It's held up through the later seasons, though.
I remember the chick, the young lady, sorry, on that show got a spinoff on Fox. Didn't last very long though. Not a spinoff of that show. She had her own show, and
yeah. They've each of them have done their own thing that hasn't quite been as successful as Sunny, other than Danny DeVito, obviously. But
well, the little not Danny DeVito, the little guy, the one we were just talking about. He was in Pacific Rim 1 and 2. Part 1
Charlie,
was great.
Yeah. I actually don't know his actual name. I know his Charlie Day.
And he was in Horrible Bosses. And both of those movies are
his name is actually Charlie Day.
That's perfect. I don't know.
All right. Turns out I do know his name.
Well, good for NEEKO, man. Here's another thing that I switch into interviewer mode, and this is for educational reasons because you guys are going to get to learn a lot from Zach right now. Zach, what is an MMO?
An MMO is a multi-member online. That's it. Multi-member online. That's what MMO stands for. So it's a video game that a lot of people play online at the same time.
I don't like that acronym. It feels short when you say it. Like it feels like there should be.
So technically, like World of Warcraft is an MMORPG, a multi-member online role-playing game, right?
Okay.
That's where that's what the full acronym. But when I was just paraphrase it as MMO. So RuneScape is an MMO. New World, when it finally comes out, is an MMO.
What's going on with the delays? I know there's a pandemic going on, but like this is a game that's like
so
this is the second delay. So we're talking about Amazon's
third. It might be more than two.
This is Amazon's first step in there, stepping their toes into the gaming realm, other than Twitch, obviously. And they got New World coming out, and it's been delayed again. Correct. The reason I asked Zach what an MMO is, I want to know what it is about this game that's made it be delayed 3 times. Like, is it going to be that immersive? Are we getting ready to get something so groundbreaking that they had to stop it for a 3rd time?
So here's the thing with MMOs, right? It's not that they're immersive. Well, they are, or not that they're groundbreaking. Or they are. It's how big the game is, right?
Right.
So, like, let's face, for example, the New York City version of the Division 2, fairly accurate, right? Mm-hmm. Right, like we've been walking by places, and both of us have said, "Oh, I know what that place is. I've eaten there, or I've been in a bar there, or you know, I used to buy my crack there.
I bought heroin there."
I love we went to the same place. But you can walk from corner to corner. It's in theory, if there were no engagements, in what 8-10 minutes.
Yeah,
you cannot walk across World of Warcraft. It would take days, probably. It would take it's so big. There are so many things to do. Every new area you enter in World of Warcraft is one of the bigger MMOs that I have experience with. The biggest MMO, obviously. That and RuneScape. But RuneScape is in a much smaller scale. World of Warcraft, like every time you enter a new area, there's 50 or 100 new things to do. And a new area is every, I don't know, 10 minutes worth of walking. Right? So every 10 minutes you're running into probably 8 to 10 more hours of content, right? And there's, I don't know, I'm trying to think 100 of those per continent, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 continents now. You know, there's thousands of hours of things to do in the game, and you probably still wouldn't have seen all of the drops or all of the different monsters or all of the things that you could do. There's so many different things to do in the game, and that's why it's such a big, expansive game. And I'm curious on how big New World is going to be. I know some people who have played it who are in the alpha testers. They were not impressed. They say that the game is missing a lot, lacking a lot. They say the PvP is very good, and that they feel like the combat is pretty good, but the game itself feels empty. So
is Diablo an MMO?
No, Diablo is a action RPG, an ARPG. No, so MMO, like, you know, you could like log into RuneScape, and when you log into RuneScape in a particular world, when you're walking around, there's hundreds of other people around you, right? And that's what constitutes an MMO. You remember when we were playing Destiny and you're in that little spaceship that's kind of like your home base?
Yeah.
There's a shitload of people walking around in there. That's kind of the atmosphere everywhere you go in an MMO.
Okay, that makes sense. It's funny. I remember one of my favorite episodes of American Dad is when Steve is playing an RPG / MMO, and he's talking about why he loves the game so much. He was like, in the real world, constantly sucks, but in this game, I get to be someone, and that's not to disparage anyone that's playing MMOs, but this is the third delay on this game, man. So I needed to have it really broken out.
This is a big delay too.
Yeah. When is it from till?
It is from August to spring of next year. So we're gonna essentially get a 8 to 9 month delay on this game.
That's amazing. And the Avengers game would have come out. Winter would have come again. Second wave of the pandemic will be upon us before we get this game, and potentially the collapse of Western civilization as we know it.
I agree. The only thing left standing will be World of Warcraft, and I promise that.
There'll be one guy on top of the cinder still playing World of Warcraft. Actually, it was funny because I was talking to my wife about this, and so that me and my son have beat Spider-Man. We're probably on the 10th run through at this point, not including DLC. He just beat it again. And the reason that's happened is because the Avengers game didn't come out like it was supposed to. And that's supposed to have an MMO-esque vibe to it, which is going to be weird because you can't all play as the same characters and running around in the same area. I don't know how that's going to pan out. But that game was delayed into September. They delayed it for what they said were creative reasons to make sure they gave the fans a more immersive blah, 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 blah. And that's going to come out in September. But if we're here the Friday prior to it coming out in September and we're doing a show about it being delayed again, I'm saying it now, I'm not buying it. Like
it's coming out September 4th. You have 2 months.
2 months, Zach.
I feel like if we're going to get another delay, it'll be the next 3 weeks. That's what we'll get another delay.
The only thing I'll accept is a pandemic related. You can say
no, I don't even expect that. I wouldn't even accept that. A lot of the development can be done from home fairly easily.
Yeah. I mean, the only other thing I could see them pulling at this point is wanting to get, but it's too late to code it for the PS5. That would have to have been done.
It will get ported to the PS5. I will 100% guarantee you that.
No, 100%. I won't accept a delay for that. Right? Like you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want for those people. I might be one of those people. I'm still on the fence about it. But give me the game. All right? Like I'm waiting for it. Give the people that wanted New World their game. They've been waiting for it. And by the way, since we're talking about things that have been delayed in Amazon, there was some rumor about a Lord of the Rings show that we've all been sitting around twiddling our thumbs waiting for as well. We would like that too, or we would like some.
I was trying to figure out where you're going to go with that.
Like, can we get some set images or something? Like, is this a thing that's actually happening, or are you guys just messing with us? Like, just sitting around smoking weed?
Awesome.
Because I haven't seen anything, any from any reliable source. So if you see anything,
I wasn't really understanding that this Marvel's game was actually going to be an MMO. I don't know why I kept hearing that. It is 4-person co-op.
4-person co-op, and it's just like MMO. They keep using these terms in all the premieres. MMO like features. I don't know what that means. That's why
I'm not sure what that means either.
Like, what's the marketing on that? How do you do this? Wait.
Steve almost killed me with that.
This is what I'm saying. This is my exact point. Like, was that the person that threw that tagline in at the board meeting? Was he a sadist? He was like, "Yeah, I want to add something in. Just say it's an MMO." That'd get him going.
They're like, all right, this guy, we fucking love this guy. It's like, excuse me?
So since we're speaking about jackasses, we're going to talk about King Jackass right now. We're going to talk about the Florida governor.
Florida governor, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know the guy's name. I'm assuming it's fucking John Smith.
It's something, he's got like a Latin last name, but when I saw him, I was not the guy I was expecting. Strange thing about Florida, right?
So this guy, Ron DeSantis. Ron. Yeah, makes sense.
So when the whole COVID thing kicked off initially, they were one of the first states to kind of open early and kind of defy the general knowledge and data about how this whole thing, what the limited data they had at the time. And he opened early, and I remember this was after going to the White House and meeting with Trump, and then he opened up, and he famously said, "Oh, we were going to open up, and everyone was telling us it was going to be like we were going to be the second Italy, and that just hasn't happened." That's almost verbatim.
That's
quote.
Pretty much what he said. I agree.
And then now they have the highest cases, and that's not anything to laugh at, right? It's nothing to laugh at.
It's incredibly sad.
The many different mayors that occupy the state of Florida are all extremely upset, but culpable in some senses. And but now he's not. This guy's not. He's he's sticking to it. He's not backpedaling at all. He came back out the other day, and he's, I think, either today or yesterday, and he was just like, what we're seeing is we're seeing a flattening of the curve. And then took no questions from the press, when in actuality they just had like a spike of like 3,000 cases or something crazy too.
I think they they're in a really bad spot right now.
Yes,
and he is probably the most wrong anyone has ever been about anything, and is unwilling to admit that. I'm
sorry.
I don't understand how you could have, like, I don't even know how many new cases in a day and go, oh yeah, we're fine. Yeah, they have 244,000 cases with an additional 9,000 cases today. And he had come out and said that if we can open Home Depots, kids are going back to school. So that's what we're going to see next. We got another month until Florida schools are open, I believe. I think they will start in August. And we got another month to see, how many of these poor teachers who have to buy their own supplies to provide for the kids and actually teach, right? Because there's no budget for schools, how they're going to have to deal with buying their own PPE and protecting themselves. There was a case already in Arizona where 3 teachers had shared a classroom for summer school. All 3 of them had contracted COVID, and 1 had passed away from it. So we're gonna see where this goes. It's really bad. They're in a terribly bad spot. This whole COVID thing has really honestly made me hate living in the United States because of how just absolute moronic like 80% of the people are that live here. And you can't inconvenience yourself for the greater good of mankind for 90 days and wear a fucking mask, and these morons have not been able to successfully do that. So I don't know, man. It's brutal.
So you and I find ourselves 100% in agreement on this topic, as we've been the entire time since the pandemic. So actually, I was reflecting with my wife. Do you remember when this whole thing kicked off and how scary it was at the beginning? I remember there was a time we did an episode and I was coughing really bad. I came downstairs to do an episode, and you like kind of gave me this look, and I kind of acknowledged the look, and I was like, "Man, is this the last?" It's like it's one of those things. It was really,
you were having really bad allergies, and then I very specifically remember asking you, and I'm like, "See, why don't you just go get allergy medicine?" And he goes, "Well, I'm allergic to that too." It's not quite exactly the way he said it, but we'll keep it that way for the greater good of mankind.
I'll keep it good, man. It gets me high every time I take allergy medicine. I look like I'm on drugs, dude. I asked my wife, dude. I took it and I couldn't even drive to work one day. She had to drive me to work. But here's the crazy thing, man. Like, I don't think people remember how dire. I don't remember how dire it was.
It's worse right now.
Time. I remember when I had to go get groceries for the first time, and it struck me when I was on the line for an hour to get groceries. I was like, man, they might run out of food before I get there to get food for my family. So I keep that in my mind. I know what our civil liberties and our entire structure set up as a government, as a country. I'm against forcibly compelling people to do things, but you would hope that people can look at a situation and go, okay, this is something that I'm willing to do. And you know what the problem is at the crux of this whole thing is the whole 2% mortality thing. But I keep reflecting on that. That's 2% mortality based on the metrics of numbers that we have right now. We don't know what the mortality rate's going to look like in 5 years. So, right?
The issue with that is the mortality rate. Worldwide, it's 12.4 million confirmed cases, 559,000 deaths. Right, we're approaching 600,000 deaths at a rate of about almost 6,000 a day. I don't know what the exact number is there. It might be 2%. Let me open up my calculator here. But that is an absurd amount of people.
Yeah. And then you have to be willfully. It does just call it what it is. You have to be willfully apathetic and have decided that these people's lives were forfeit and it's not enough for the world to stop functioning the way that it is right now. But the fact of the matter is, that's what people are doing. And then you have people who will not accept the data because they feel like it's become a partisan game, too politicized, and somehow they're going to concede a point to the left or right. And the fact of the matter is, like, this is what happens when we allow politicians to run these situations. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not advocating for the dumping of the government and putting scientists in charge, but in a unprecedented global pandemic, maybe the people who have no education and pathogens should be allowed to speak less, right? You probably want to push them to the back of the mic and just say, hey, we're going to bring the attorney general right now.
Specialists for a reason, right? This is like a startup, right? Say you're like a brand new hotel chain, right? And your gimmick is you want to have the best tech in any hotel chain ever. You want to have integrated Xboxes and shit into your TVs that people can just fucking rent a controller for $5 a day and play the games, right? Or bring their own and not have to do the rent. And then you bring a consulting company in and they're like, hey, this is what you need to do this. And you're like, fuck you, we're doing it our own way.
Right.
This is exactly the same thing. It's like we have specialists for a reason, man. If you're not going to listen to these people, the people who have, the virologists and the people who have spent their lives studying how pandemics work. They research, what their thesis statement was in college was how the bubonic plague happened and spread so fast. Why aren't we listening to these people, right? And where did we lose the common sense, the decency, the empathy for our fellow human, and the fact that, if me and you were to go out, we would both be wearing masks. Right,
100%.
Because we don't want, on the off chance that we're either of us are asymptomatic, to infect the other. Right,
100%.
Because we're decent people. The people who are going around going, I'm not wearing a mask, are just not. They're just not good people. Like, I don't understand where the U.S. went so wrong. I don't know if it's the educational system. I don't know what it is, but we fucking took a left turn somewhere and we look like morons on the world stage.
So I'm telling you, at the center of all of this is partisan politics, and people. And here's the ironic part, right?
Yeah.
I made it a point to say this when Mantis was on. There are people who don't understand enough about politics to even understand what side they're taking, right? Mm-hmm. But you've politicized something as dangerous as a pandemic. And then on top of that, you got media marketing going back and forth. So now people don't know who they can get reliable information from. And I wouldn't go as far as to say that they're bad people. I think they're definitely some morons. But there is a chance, there's willfully ignorant and misinformed, and that misinformation can cause people harm, right? So the same reason that I don't just shift over into the left lane without using a blinker is the exact same reason why I wear a mask when I leave the house, right? Because it's the right thing to do in that scenario. And ironically enough, you have to legally use your blinkers, and no one's complaining about being compulsed and being compelled forcibly by the government.
Well, you've never been around BMW drivers, clearly.
That's right. They're too fast for me to catch in my little monster. but the same thing like with bicycle helmets, right? You wear a bicycle helmet for your protection, right? That's a law. A lot of people don't follow it, but we can go back and forth on this. But the problem is, man, leadership. And look, and if you would just study history, right? So, to my Reformed Christian friends, I am with you 100% on a lot of things, but we have to represent history accurately. Like when people start making a comparison of like the French Revolution and this, I'm just not going to go into it. Remember that there was a cause for that too. It's true that the mob did get consumed by atheistic views and stuff like that. That's all true. But also the aristocrats at the time, like they had done something to provoke this action from the general population. And I believe if we're not careful that we will either see the rise in communism in this country, we'll see a rise in people reacting poorly because of the pandemic, right? People just will not want to tolerate either being felt like they're being told what to do, or people, here's the real scary part, people saying, hey, you've willfully made a decision to put me in harm, right? You've made this decision. And I think leaders are going to be held culpable to this. And I this is stuff that, November's approaching fast, right? And his governorship, I'm sure the election will be coming soon. People are going to remember this type of stuff, man.
But here's the issue.
It's sad.
Is the people in Florida are with the guy, right? That's
the thing I do not understand, dude.
Like these are the people that are going to the beaches, that are not social distancing, that are not wearing masks anywhere. And it's one of the older populations in the states, right? It's Florida and Arizona, the two oldest populations in the state. What do they think is going to happen? Right?
Here's what they want to happen. It's the same thing as Sandy Hook, man. People won't believe it until it happens, right? And what I'm not saying what needs to happen.
It's happening.
It's not happening fast enough. People want bubonic level casualties before they respond appropriately.
We've had 136,000 deaths in the United States in 5 months. 4 months.
People don't even believe that all of those deaths are attributed to COVID.
I can't have this conversation anymore.
It's the same thing. Like
this is just hurtful. This is just absurdly stupid. Like, man, just wear a fucking mask. Like,
especially when you go into Subway, dude. I want to eat my. I haven't had Subway in quite some time, but wear your mask.
I refuse to go to Subway right now.
I drove by one. The one day when I was coming, going to work, and I looked in there, and one of the guys didn't have a mask on. I was like, man, unbelievable.
I went to Five Guys today. And we're New York is in a spot where inside restaurants are opening up again. I will not be partaking. Again, being a diabetic, I am at the same risk of someone who is between 70 and 80, I believe, for mortality if I contract the disease, right? If I track the fucking itis. So I'm taking all the precautions. I go in, I order my meal, I stay away from everybody. I fucking wait till everyone disperses away from the drink dispenser, get my drink and leave, right? So there are people fucking sitting in the restaurant, having meals, no masks on, having conversations with people across like the thing. And I'm like, inside. And I'm like, holy shit, I am good. I'm so good. I don't care to sit in a restaurant this bad that I need to fucking sit here and subject myself to morons.
Crazy thing is New York State, or the whole of New York State, only 8 deaths today, trending downward still in I believe cases. But
go ahead.
People have made we had some moronic behaviors, and this is hard for me as a city person, but I knew this was going to happen. So do you probably aware of this too? After a long brutal winter for New York State and New York City, the minute you get a 55 degree
out, dude.
Everyone's
out, man. I'm fucking out, bro. I understand 100%.
And that happened. That day coincided on the day where restaurants had opened back up in Manhattan, and so people were out just doing the damn thing. But I don't know. I think it's easy for us to sit here and because I agree with you. You are diabetic, and I want to protect you, right? And I don't want to cause you any harm. And I think that's just a premise that I'll die on this hill. I'm willing to die on this hill. We don't even know what we're going to do. I think we know what we're going to do with our kids, and it's not going to be putting them in harm's way. I don't care how many people tell me that the disease has a better chance. They have a better chance of dying from getting hit by a car than they do of dying from COVID.
Doesn't matter. You don't even want to take that risk. Like, why would you take that unnecessary risk? Dude, like going to a restaurant or going to like a gym or like a movie theater or something is not that fucking important, dude. It really isn't.
My buddy Mark was at a gym the other day, and he has like Mark is a hero. He doesn't listen to the show, but if he did listen, I would say this man's a nurse, showed up every day for a shift during this whole thing.
Yeah.
I've worked out with this guy numerous times. Best guy to work out with. Like, he's gonna keep you motivated. I can honestly see the happiness on his face when he showed up to the gym the other day and he was the only person there. And he got to like work out and not in fear of contracting anything. And it was like, that was special. But who knows where we go from here, Zach? I don't know, man. I do know one thing. The fights are on tomorrow. They all tested negatively positive and a good percent.
Well, not Gilbert Burns.
Oh, poor guy. We're praying for the family of Gilbert.
Absolutely. I hope he's okay.
Hey, you know what? I think he was going to win that fight.
It's easy to say that now.
I honestly, it just dawned on me. I woke up in a cold sweat. And I was like, "He's going to kill Kamaru Usman."
No, like it's just. You know, I had a nightmare that fucking Masvidal opened up the fight with a flying knee, and
got caught midair and just got thrown out the ring.
He threw him out. He's like, and well, we didn't think about this prior, but that's a new way to win.
Yeah. He's dead. Last thing I'll say before we close it out, Ben Askren, still the king of Twitter, won his crown back recently.
I love Ben, dude.
Did you see that post he had? He was like, could you imagine what it's like to have your most embarrassing moment in life
replayed over and over and over again? Absolutely. I absolutely can. I have that nightmare every night.
Zach, tell the people where they can find us, man.
Everybody, thank you for listening to episode 39. Hey, this is the episode where we officially are passing Steve's age. I just thought about that. We're now officially older than Steve, which is disgusting. I don't know how the hell we passed it.
I am a piece of dirt.
Anyway, everyone can find us at talkingwithadad.com. You can find us Talking with a Dad on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Anchor Podcast, Twitter, fucking iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music Podcast, whatever the hell it is now. It's going to get shut down soon anyway. Any of your favorite podcasting app, ladies and gentlemen, listen to us wherever you can. And if it's in the car, let us know on one of our apps, and we'll give you a high five virtually. Thanks for listening.